to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now have Rabbi Susan Singer of Temple Bethel. Good evening. How are you? Welcome.
You're good.
Whatever.
I mean, I didn't know if I should face you or face them.
Well, you know what? It's your druthers. Just you can flip it over.
Spin around?
It's
Put
up
my
to
back
you.
to them? No.
You're good, Rabbi.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Very, very honored to be here tonight. Thank you for inviting me. As we gather here this evening, we call on God for guidance. There is power in assembly. There is power in meeting. We ask for wisdom and discernment. Dear God, give us the wisdom once again to make educated choices, strength to make difficult choices, hearts to make righteous ones. Words spoken in this gathering must be honest and open. In this undertaking, we must be ever mindful to treat one another with respect and dignity. The mystical rabbi, Zushia, taught his disciples that they must be the best of themselves. He said, when I go before God at the end of my life, God will not ask me, why were you not more like Moses? God will ask me, why were you not more like Zushia? Moses did not see the promised land. His task was to lead a slave, a custom band, to march toward freedom. Can I do my share each day, we ask, mindful of the past, building for tomorrow? Not Moses, nor Zushia, nor any borrowed mask to be ourselves today, this road furrow. Ours not to end the work, not even start. Ours to give each day a willing heart, grateful for the strength, the wisdom, and the courage which have sustained us. Thankful for the success that has crowned our efforts. May we proceed from task to task, confident of purpose, resolute in the pursuit of our commitment, and ennobled by the innate worthiness of our goals. In the Jewish tradition, one must never offer a blessing without immediately following the words with the actions mentioned in the blessing. So as I bless this assembled group this evening, may your actions be suffused with a sense of the greater good, with a sense of responsibility to your entire community, but most notably to those who are the most vulnerable among us, the elderly, the infirm, the widow, the orphan, and the stranger. O guardian of life and liberty, may our city always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonder of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of our community. May the members of this council govern with justice and compassion. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife. And may our city and country be sound in body and spirit. Amen.
Rabbi Singer, that was beautiful. Thank you very much. We will now go to our Spirit Award, Norco Spirit Award, Councilman Hoffman. This is an award that we, as a council, came up with during COVID because we realized that a lot of people were doing extraordinary things, even within the problems we're having with COVID. So each council meeting, we began to, each council person would select somebody they saw in the community that they would like to recognize. Take it away, Ted. Sorry.
Good evening. You know, one of the things people I've selected have been volunteers, people that do amazing things in this community. At the end of every basketball season, Michelle and her group says, hey, city council members, come up and watch the kids get their awards at the end of the year. Alejandra, and I don't know if you guys are back over there. It is a special program. I love going up there. But tonight, I'm going to recognize two of these coaches that have been extraordinary members of this team, of the volunteers. They volunteer their hours. And Gary, I'm going to bring him up here. He just told me he figured out 3,000 hours. Amazing. He's contributed to this team. And Eric, he's taken the time to go out and 2 teams at times. when no other coaches would step up to the plate. But let me go through here, and I'll read this into it. And Gary and Eric, come on up. This is Gary Ward and Eric Burwell. Just stand right there, gentlemen. I'm going to talk about your accolades, all right? I'm proud to present the Community Spirit Award to Coach Gary Ward and Coach Eric Burnell, two youth basketball coaches whose gift of time and dedication have contributed to the success of the City of Norco Co-ed Youth Basketball League, and who throughout the years have made a positive impact in the lives of young athletes. In the summer of 2021, Coach Gary Ward dedicated over 30 hours of volunteer service as he coached a Division A team. Coach Eric Burnell dedicated over 50 hours of service as he coached both a Division A, B and a Division C team when volunteers and coaches were limited. Today, we recognize and celebrate their commitment to serving as positive role models, keeping youth involved in active recreation and teaching young athletes not only about the game of basketball, but also about teamwork and sportsmanship, qualities that transcend beyond the basketball court. With the time, the games and scores fade away, but everyone will remember these coaches in their lives. Thank you, Coach Gary Ward and Coach Eric Burnell, for your years of service in building community throughout the City of Norco Co-ed Youth Basketball Team. It's fun to go out here during the awards and sharing. Gary, how many championship teams have you brought up there? A lot. A lot. 9. Because it's like, and Eric, and you're right, I know you compete against it, but...
Yeah, well, I think... Oh, 1 point short this year.
So, and I told them, and I'm going to honor them, and they said, no, I don't do it. And I said, well, I have an alternative motive. I appreciate what these do, and I appreciate all the volunteer coaches that come out. And so for any of you listening or hear this later, or even in the audience here, these guys give up their time, and they help these young kids, and it's important. That's what our future is these kids are sitting over there. I know they're his kids, but how you coach Ibbotson, so he's the principal at high school, so he's going to play over there. So it can happen, and that's the important thing, the volunteers here. So thank you guys very much. I got a special deal here for you. Gary from the city. I have this pin, and also Eric from you for the city of Norco. Dale's going to get your picture, and come on, you two. Come on, you guys are out there all the time. You girls.
We will now move to the reorganization of City Council, the election of the mayor. I now call for a motion to elect the new mayor. I make a motion to nominate Greg Newton.
Second.
City Clerk will now take a vote.
Motion passes unanimous.
Congratulations. We're now going to have a 5-minute recess to change over seating, and we'll switch.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
like to move forward with the election of the Mayor Pro Tem. I'll call for a motion to elect a new Mayor Pro Tem.
I'd like to nominate Robin Gronmeier.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. City Clerk?
Okay. Please vote. Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
Any acceptance words, Robin?
No, thank you.
Okay, so I'd like to ask council to come down to the podium, and we're going to give Kevin the boot. Well, we'll do it this way. So, Kevin? Yes. Step up here. You're not going far away, buddy, but I have a couple of presentations for you. First, I want to present you with the gavel that you used. That was for your entire term as mayor, in which you led significant actions and initiatives for the community. I hope that you display it proudly and it commemorates your dedication to the city of Norco. Tonight, we are going to continue our tradition of giving the mayor the boot. This fancy boot is filled with notes of gratitude and fond memories of your fellow council members and staff. And I might paraphrase on that, but we'll stay in the city council office at City Hall until it's time to give me and future mayors the boot. It becomes a tradition to say thanks without saying goodbye, and is very fitting for Horsetown, USA. I did put a note in there myself, but let me be the first to thank you for all that you've done. And there's cash and prizes in there. And I would like my colleagues to say a few words. We'll start with Mayor Pro Tem Gronmeier. Thank you.
So, Kevin, I don't think anybody would argue with the fact that there's probably nobody that has as much passion for the city of Norco as you do, and you work tirelessly in ways that a lot of people don't see above the city level to advocate for the residents of this city, and for that I'd like to thank you for all your hard work. Congratulations.
Yes, I want to echo what Robin said. I would also say there's very few that are as passionate and knowledgeable about Norco history as Kevin Bash, and it's always a pleasure to be in an event when he shares stories with you about places that you did not know. You are dedicated, you are hardworking, and I know that your heart is always guiding you in working towards what's right and promoting the city of Norco, and definitely grateful for all that you do on behalf of our city and all of its members. So thank you and congratulations.
All right, I'm closer now. Rotation-wise. But no, Kevin and I work we go to a lot of outside committees outside the city, and Kevin is the face of Norco, which is a good thing, because his knowledge of the city, its founding, the historical district we place, everything that is equestrian, everything that is Norco is Kevin. And he is well recognized outside of this community. He's well recognized in this community. And if you read what people say, they respect Kevin Bash and his knowledge of this city and the knowledge of the residents here. I see him walking up on my streets. I have to kick him out because he didn't pay the toll. But other than that, he is out and about. And one thing, Kevin, and I know you're not going to stop even though you won't be mayor, he's still going to continue to do it with as much fervor as he has done. And that's what we're proud of you, Kevin. You do that. You take this job to heart. Thank you.
God, everybody's so nice to me. It's nice. It's funny. I coached my first team. We moved back here in '95. I coached my first team in '96, which means, and I saw the coaches there. I coached in the same league, and I was a commissioner, and so I've literally been doing stuff with the city of Norco for 25 years. That's hard to believe. And I just love the town, and I've tried to do my best. I think that a lot of times I get entirely too much credit. I've been really, really fortunate. We have a really smart council, a council that really cares about the community, and they have allowed me to do certain things that in other councils it just simply would not have been possible. As a city, I mean, when I got on council in 2009, it was much simpler. It is now super complex, and it requires creating allies out in we're no longer an island. And so I'm really grateful that I had such support from the council, and I really want to thank staff. It's funny, Andy and I were just talking yesterday. We get credit for 100% when the truth of the matter is staff does 80%, 85, 90%. So thank you very much. It's been an honor to serve as the mayor. I think we got a lot done. It was a very difficult year, but I'm real proud of some of the initiatives, and I think that we've created a platform that we're just going to keep going up, 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 and up. So thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you, council, for the kind words. And I love the gavel. Thank you. We're all smiling.
Okay. We'll go ahead and move into item 1, City Council reports on regional boards. We'll start with Mayor Pro Tem Gronmeier.
Nothing to report.
Catherine?
Yes, on December 14th, I attended the Western Riverside County Regional Wastewater Authority Board of Directors meeting, and 2 pieces of action to report on the Board of Directors. We decided to move forward on both an odor mitigation project and a 3rd digester because of the growing capacity that is needed at RICWA. So, thank you.
Kevin?
So I was pretty busy, and there's a couple of things that I think that we really need to, at least I need to just make you aware of. Had a very good meeting with Monica Green and her staff and Better Nutritionals. It's actually really exciting in terms of trying to create workforce, trying to create a nexus point between Norco College and Better Nutritionals who needs work. and it's just very, very exciting. The other part that I really like is that there's a commitment on Silver Lakes Park to continue to help feed the soccer program and different programs, athletic programs at Norco College. Some athletes simply don't have the grades to get into a four-year school immediately. So one of the things that could be very exciting is that not only could we maybe become the premier junior college soccer program in California, but a lot of these kids then will go on to UCLA, Arizona, different places like that and play soccer. Next one. I had a lunch meeting with Cal City's director, Carolyn Coleman. A lot of people are leaving Cal Cities right now, and it was a really candid conversation. One of the things she was not aware of was our dissatisfaction with the formation of the Rural Committee. She said initially we had 300-400, I don't know how many people were there when we formed that committee, but it was basically taken away from us. And at the last Sacramento meeting, there was less than 20 people at that meeting. So she said she would look into that. I was there with Ben Benoit and some other people, and there are dissatisfaction in that we didn't feel that they were advocating for us as much as they could. We also did not like the way they expanded the board. We felt that there's not enough of a opposing conservative voice on that. So, and one of our big concerns is that it'll begin to go more and more left, which, no offense to anybody, I just happen to believe, and so do many of the people in the Inland Empire, that we should have a counterpoint to maybe keep people on track. And she agreed, so we'll see what happens. She did ask, she said, before we make any decisions about maybe joining other organizations, if we do, please let her know, but there are a lot of people leaving that organization. Pray-to-Lice was wonderful. I had the really incredible good fortune, we invited Admiral Burnett here to speak at our December 7th, and I got invited to this 12-star Admirals holiday luncheon, and I met more admirals than I didn't even know they existed, but I met the top admiral, so it was pretty cool. But most importantly, I met the admiral that was in charge of the entire West Coast BUMED Naval Hospital system, and I had the opportunity to talk to him about the hospital, and so I'm arranging a tour to walk him through the base and to show him exactly what we've been talking about. So unless somebody gets to him before I can do that, that could be a good thing for us. Next one. Did I already pass the WRCOG? Okay, well, WRCOG, I guess I passed it. That's coming up? Okay. Yeah, got it. I am going to reserve my comments on my discussion with Senator Roth. It was quite animated. And what I really respected about Senator Roth was that he hung in there, and we kind of went toe-to-toe a little bit. And what I like about Senator Roth is he doesn't give you lip service and then doesn't do anything. One of the things, I don't know if he will help us in terms of the RTTP, but he will get the information he sought. He will get the stuff that I gave you guys. These is correspondence. I can get it from other sources, but Rick just happened to have it. The RTTP will be pennies on the dollar in terms of ratepayers. One of the things I can't give him now is the Riverside, City of Riverside, and I don't know how to politely say this, they're just not telling the truth to their council people. They're just not. If you look at their estimates as to what it'll cost to put this in, they're very different, but the problem is, given COVID prices, we have no idea what this project will cost. I spent a day talking to various people who put these in. In the short term, you're basically just digging a trench, and the difficult part is going under the water, but in the long term, far more destructive to the environment will be these big posts. One of the things that cannot be called is a reliability project. One of the things that Senator Roth said is, well, if there's an earthquake, what are you going to do? Well, we don't get any power from this, and if there's an earthquake, all power shuts off. All of it. if there is and also a reliability project by edict cannot be put in a wind zone. They keep calling it a reliability project, but when you have a Santa Ana wind event, they will shut that power down. So I'm going to wait and see if he will help us. He seemed, I don't think he will, and he had good reasons, but I want to see if once he gets the information we're going to give him, if he will turn that around. We'll see. I don't believe he will want to take, I don't believe he will want to set a precedent and go to the state legislature and try to pass a law that puts everything underground. That would take a political will, and he's concerned that ratepayers would be upset with him. I did point out to him that, because he mentioned that Norco could possibly sue, and John had an answer for that. And one of the things that I didn't remind him of, he had mentioned Chino Hills that sued and got them taken underground. What I will remind him of in the future is when the first posts went up, that's when the community went crazy, and no elected official was left standing. Not one person who didn't try to stop that was reelected. So he should take that to heart, because I understand he's running for supervisor, and if he's going to run those lines through La Sierra, he needs to understand that's a huge size in that particular district. And then we'll go to this. So I'm going to briefly talk on this. Now, we right now, per the law, and one of the things I'm doing is I talked to Carolyn Coleman about this. I was really delighted that it appeared that Sabrina Cervantes is going to support us. Catherine and I went to a meeting where she seemed to be on our side. Because of our historic overlay, we are exempt. But one of the problems that we have at least I have, and maybe council, and I mean, we've come up with all these websites and all these ways to communicate with our residents, is it's like they have to, at a certain point, have to access what is going on. And so when you look at social media, it's frustrating because you go, wow, that's not what's going on. So anyway, I just wanted to touch on, we got this from WRCOG, which I serve on the admin, finance, and I also serve on the executive committee. SB 10, this is the session highlights. Let's go to the next one. And basically, this outlines what SB 9 does. So essentially, SB 9 means that you can literally build another house, put 2 ADUs in the back, and cut them up. Now, the requirement is you have to live in the house for 3 years or something like that. The problem is it's not enforceable. One of the things I talked to Carolyn Coleman about is that I want the League of Cities to really begin to fight against this much harder. And they kind of got late in the game. One of the things that's happening in contract cities in Orange County and Los Angeles, and Carolyn says they may be considering this, which is to strip the state legislature of their ability to interfere with zoning, local control. As I've said before, we're the only government in the entire world that operates from the bottom, the person at the podium. Everything starts there. And what is happening, like it or not, is they're trying to flip it. And so I'm really hoping, and Carolyn said she would take it back to her board, that they would enter into that same battle to get those signatures to put an amendment into the state constitution that they can never again change the zoning within a community. SB 10 is not quite so scary because it requires a council to basically, and again, I'm going through this really fast, but basically you get the wrong council in and they could literally put in up to a 14-unit apartment right next to anybody in a single-family dwelling. She concurred that in essence, as of January 1st, for all intent and purposes, zoning ends on January 1st in the state of California, January 1st of the next year. And that's a little bit drastic, but in a very real sense, it isn't. And one of the things that I have talked previously to Senator Roth about is that I couldn't understand why he has 5 large lot communities within his district, and we're all targets now. I know Bill Wilkman has gotten a lot of calls about our historic overlay. One of the things that needs to be clarified is part of the reason we could do that with legitimacy is we are a certified local government. The battle with the Norconian, actually through the State of California Historic Preservation Officer, has given us the ability to create a situation where we have a lot of pull in terms of what is and is not historic. Next one. Again, local control. AB 602 is another one that's coming, which is really difficult. And again, we're fighting for local control. Next one. SB 35, they just keep tweaking that to make it more and more onerous. Basically, what they've done with SB 35 is they have handed every developer in the state of California essentially a license to steal. And it's really, really hard to fight it. And earlier I heard one of my colleagues up here frustrated with the whole thing. But every city in the state of California is upset about this, and for whatever reason, the state legislature and the governor in particular is not listening to over 500 cities in the state of California. These are the legislative focuses that are coming up, some of which are great, some of which are very interesting. Next one, I think the proposed legislation, this is the stuff, maybe we can put this on our website, which if you haven't been to our new website, it's fabulous. And then one of the things that I'm advocating with WRCOG is that I'm trying during my tenure as the chair of the admin finance in the executive body, I am trying to get WRCOG to be much more of an advocacy group. The Inland Empire is very, very underrepresented because we tend to have a conservative bent. Actually, the truth of the matter is we're more middle than most of the others. We don't really go left, we don't really go right. We're really, when you get together, you realize everybody's kind of in the middle. And so Kurt Wilson, the new director, he is moving us into that direction. We've just recently done the bylaws so that within the Inland Empire, maybe if we band together with Riverside, Eastvale, different communities like that, we might have a voice to not only politically have a voice, but to have a voice in terms of attracting more commerce, more workforce, housing, things like that. There's even a movement within some members to simply say no to the state of California. Sue us all. Next one. And then these are just some other things I'm not going to go into. The jurisdiction response to SB 35, those are things, the WRCOG analysis of 9. Next one. And that's essentially it. So that's all I have. I'm sorry it took so long to kind of do that. And with lastly, I've been asked to once again serve as one of the board members for the executive committee for the Riverside Conservation Authority. So depending on how our assignments lay out, there's that option. And if I find out that I'm going to be reappointed to the RCA, then I will accept that position. So that means I serve on 3 major committees within the Inland Empire. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Kevin. Ted?
I'll be brief. I'll be brief. As you can see, we had an art training on December 7th with Riverside, with the Norco Animal Control and Riverside County Bureau. We are practicing real hard to make sure that we get certified here in the near future to do airlifts, so that's part of that. The RCTC, and for most of you saw this article that appeared in the paper from Governor Newsom, and I'll read this. This is from Ann Mayer. She's the director of the Riverside County Transportation Commission. Governor Newsom found $12 million to implement a highway expansion project on a 5-mile stretch of I-15 between the California-Nevada state line and Barstow to ease traffic congestion during peak hours. Well, imagine that. Well, so she goes, we agree with the governor that expanding the state highway system can be appropriate to reduce checkpoints and congestion, especially in high population growth areas and good movements gateways like Riverside County. Chair Harnick, who's our chair for the RCTC, she sent a letter to the governor last week outlining the urgent need for the state's partnership to help find transportation solutions that have meaningful impact on our residents. And if you've traveled I-15 between Corona and Marietta and down that area, you know what I'm talking about. That hour to sit on that thing is terrible. And that's because they didn't give us any more money. So in addition to the letter via the press release yesterday, along with the launch of a coordinator social media outreach, she would like us all to go on to, and I'm going to put this up, and Kelly, I know you were back there if you were still here, is to go on to www.rctc.org/support for allowing the residents to sign their names indicating their support for urgent transportation solutions in Riverside County. And so we do. I mean, if he can find $12 million for that, he can find us the money to fix the rest of our roads in our county. West Community Energy meeting, we are still trying to wrap that up and conclude it and finish it up. The RTA's Northwest Transportation meeting, I don't know why they did it, but they selected me as their secretary. I guess I'll have to take good notes. But it is good. The transportation meeting, we talk about the bus flow, and actually bus ridership has gone up. It's still not like it was pre-pandemic, but it's slowly going up to 30% more than it was last time. So that's a good news. Right after that, I had the LAFCO meeting. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, we had to approve an extension or amendment to the agreement, and I don't know if our city's been contacted about the sphere of influence reviews and stuff. If we've completed all ours, that's what's holding this thing up, is because of COVID, the consulting firm hasn't been able to get all the information back in time. So hopefully we got ours in, and we did, so good. So that is where they're trying to find a sphere of influence, and those areas are pocket areas of county that they're trying to make sure that either they get incorporated into cities or we have to clean them up. And then right after that, I am on the Riverside County Flood Control District 2 meeting. There's 3 of us. We were selected by Supervisor Spiegel. And we've been busy, and I know that our city, as Sam and the representative, they sent some projects for us, but just to give you an idea, for the 2021 year, there are 14 projects being done, and that includes all of Riverside County, major flood control district channel projects, and to include the one here in Norco, the Norco Crestview Drive debris basin. And they should have that one concluded by now, and as of that deal, but we looked at a lot of projects throughout Riverside, our section of the zone, which is basically the Norco, part of Corona, and up there in Gavilan Hills, and in the southern part of Riverside. And there's money there, but it's, like I said, it's not as much as they used to have, and but they're looking at, we looked at some good projects, some small projects, but all of this to get the flood control. The major thing, and this is what people have to understand, with flood control, the direction is changing, is this just not putting the water back in channels, send it down the river so it goes to the ocean. No, it's retention basins, back to going to and recharging our basins, because we don't have that much water anymore, and so we have to rethink it. The rest of the stuff, and I want to congratulate staff. What a fun Christmas activity day. Michelle, your staff, Todd and his staff, everybody was out there. It was fun, and I got to announce the parade just like Kevin did. I was in front of Boot Barn. What a fun bunch of people around there. They had fun, so enjoyed it. And you did a good job. You didn't dump off retired Mayor Hannah, so you did good. And then you got Robin. She's got the Grinch with her. I mean, come on. And I hope, Jeff, you saw that. So, all right. But we had a good time. So thank you very much.
December 2nd, attended the special Board of Directors meeting for the Chino Basin Desalter Authority. Pretty straightforward agenda. And I, too, want to thank staff for the parade of lights. I did have like Ted mentioned, I did have the opportunity to drive the Nart Gator, decorated by Robin, and who also had the Grinch on the back, former Chief Scott Lane, though I've forgotten his name most of the time. It was fun. You guys did great with it. So, and had fun driving Berwin, listening to his stories. That's all I can say about that. So, well, let's move on to consent calendar. City Clerk, please.
All items listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Prior to the motion, to consider any action by the presiding governmental body, any public comments on any of the consent items will be heard. There will be no separate action unless members of the governmental body or the audience request specific items be removed from the consent calendar. Items removed from the consent calendar will be separately considered under item 3 of the agenda.
Are there any items to be pulled? Are there any public comments?
I have no public comments for these items.
Thank you. I'll ask for a motion to
Motion to
approve.
approve and all of them?
Second.
Please vote. Motion passes. Thank you.
We'll now move on to public comments. Are there any public comments?
Yes, there is, and this is the time when persons wishing to address the presiding governmental body regarding matters not on the agenda may be heard. Please submit a speaker card to the meeting clerk, which is me. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less. The Ralph M. Brown Act limits the governmental body's ability to respond to comments on non-agendized matters at the time such comments are made. The governmental body shall not discuss or act relative to any general public comment. Our first speaker is Monica Green.
Good evening, Monica.
Good evening and
How are you?
congratulations. Is the mic on?
Yes,
Oh, good.
it is.
My ears must be, not be. Good evening. It's nice to see everyone. Today, I'm Monica Green. I'm the president of Norco College, and I come before you today in gratitude and with gifts. Last month, we had our grand opening for the Veterans Resource Center, a beautiful new standalone building for our veterans. As you may or may not know, Norco College has been named Best for Vets 5 out of 6 years running, and we have this beautiful center. We are also well known now for the military articulation platform, where we are able to give credit for our veterans and how many units are needed to complete a college degree. Who knows? 60 at the community college level. We're able to award up to 30 units of credit for our veterans. So we're doing amazing things in this city, and that started here. We've expanded to the region, 12 colleges, and as of today, we will be expanding to 52 colleges in the state of California. That happened here. And, I can go on, but see, I don't have time. But my gratitude comes to the council, and in addition to our then mayor, Kevin Bash, who was our MC for the beautiful event. And I come bearing gifts because normally I would have invited the whole council to come, but we had a limited amount of space to be able to offer due to our current circumstances. So I come bearing gifts, challenge coin, coasters, and as you know, we have been in this community for over 30 years, and we are celebrating our 30th anniversary all year long. So commemorative mug and Norco College emergency kit, because this is the time that everyone could use an emergency kit, right? So I thank you for your time, and I come. Very own.
Well, thank you, Monica.
Great.
You just want to leave that with the clerk?
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. So good to see you. Happy
Good to see you.
holidays.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kevin Michaels.
Good evening, Kevin.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Michaels. I live at 798 River Drive in Norco. I've lived there since 1991. Back in 1991, there was a hole, and it was considered a drain. And that hole was improved by a gentleman in this city named Buddy, if anybody remembers him. But he went ahead and he put in the cement that you can see behind the little posts, or the posted area. There's a cement drain, and it's a nice drain. But the spillway is all broken, and the spillway comes and feeds that drain. And the problem is, you can see by the pictures, that drain is running around my home. So all that water goes in front of my house, goes around the corner, goes down the street, all the way down to Center, about 200, 300 yards, and it drains in the drain way down on Center Avenue. My concern is, number one, this hasn't been fixed. They fixed it in 1992. It has been breaking down and falling apart since 2006. Trash trucks, horses have destroyed the spillway of this drain. It needs to be repaired. Have I done anything to do that? I've talked to city people who've come out, they've looked. I didn't speak to anybody of any importance, I understand. I spoke mostly to the workers, and they said, well, there's nothing we can do. You got to get a hold of this person. And I kind of let it go here and there, and it's just been a while. Well, this blacktop feeder, this spillway, is no longer. It's all broken out. You can see pieces of it that are there. It needs to be replaced. I say that because I'm concerned for the city. If for some reason this little river takes a detour and goes into someone's home, well, they're going to be flooding that space out, and it may bring some liability to our city. The other reason I'm concerned is they're going to put a horse trail on my side of the fence now, supposedly, on my side of the road, on the south side of River Drive. And this horse trail has a 10-foot gap between those posts and my fence. And those horses will walk on what's left of this spillway that needs to be fixed and properly done. And in doing that, it's going to cause problems for the whole side. And my wife's going to speak a little bit later on why we stick with the original side, which is the north side for the horse trail. So there's two reasons I'm here. Then we need to fix this drain. It needs to be done properly. The horse trail needs to stay on the north side. That's important because horses have more room to go there than they do in front of my home, and it's safer. I'd like to thank you for your time. I'm sure I got 26 seconds to go, and I'm sure there's something I forgot, but it's very important that this be done. I'd like to thank you. And, oh, by the way, with my last 16 seconds, a parade of lights, Bobby Hicks just passed away, an awesome gentleman that did the parade of lights and should be remembered. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
River Drive.
I was just going to state that our Public Works Director will have your contact information, and we'll be reaching out. Dana?
Next speaker, April Michaels.
Good evening.
Evening. Public speaking is not my thing, but when it comes to your Norco and your property, you do what you got to do. Hello, my name is April Michaels. I live at 798 River Drive. On the corner of River and Center, it has been brought to my attention that you are planning on putting the horse trail on the south side, which is the side of our house. This is alarming and also a safety hazard. As you know, people fly by on River Drive. at 40 miles an hour, and they don't stop. They don't stop at the stop sign, and they don't stop at Center. They don't stop at Hillside, and they don't stop at Temescal. They're proposed to put the horse trail where it's going to have to switch back twice, and it's just not safe. I have lived at 798 River Drive for 30 years. I've also lived on Temescal for 16 years. As a horse rider, the north side has been the trail for over 50 years. Tickets have been issued in the 80s, and there were signs posted that it was a horse trail. Where the trail is proposed to go leaves no room due to the storm drain on the corner of Center and River. There's pictures 1 and 2 that show that. Horses are ridden in pairs of groups, either 2 or 12 or more at a time. Therefore, you will be forcing them to ride in the middle of the street, and they won't be able to ride where the trail is now, because people will be parking on the north side, all for 2 blocks of new trail with safety concerns. As you can see in the picture 5, the city has removed trees on the north side and already added dirt and leveled it, spending money already. This trail has been used for 50 years. You can see by the pictures there's more room for riders and walkers to safely continue to use the north side as a trail. The trail starts on the north side, Valley View, and ends on the north side of Pedley. There are fire hydrants on the corner of Center and one before the stop sign on Hillside, right in the way. By putting the fence on the south side, you are making it difficult for fire trucks to get to the hydrants and for firemen to do their jobs safely. Also picture 3 and 4. I was also told that I would have to remove my gate to my vintage trailer, then told later it could be discussed. This gate was originally for access for horses and for a horse trailer. Please think hard about approving this horse trail on the south side of the street. It is already a dangerous street. There have been drunks that have hit the storm drain, my mailbox, the corner of my fence, and the corner of my neighbor's fence. The last thing needed is more fencing. I urge you as the city council to ride your horse down here to see what the real issues are. Park your car and watch all the cars that fly by speeding and going through the stop signs. Ask yourself then if a switchback of the trail is a smart idea. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker, Bernie Slaker.
Hi, Bonnie.
Good evening. I just wanted to thank you for supporting the whole Christmas festival. It was wonderful. It was something the city really needed. Your staff did a great job. A lot of volunteers did a great job. And so thank you for doing that. And I just want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Same to you.
Last speaker, Mike Williams.
Hi, Mike.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations. Mayor Pro Tem Gronmeier. Council staff, thank you very much. I too enjoyed the Christmas parade, had our grandchildren out there. It was a lot of fun. So I appreciate everything that everyone did, staff included. It was very, very nice. I want to talk a little bit about an ordinance that I found. It was brought to my attention. I did some research on it. It's called Riverside County Ordinance 782. It was adopted by the county in December of 1998. This says the Streets and Highway Code of the State of California authorizes the County of Riverside to develop a golf cart transportation plan that extends the use of golf carts for the transportation beyond access to golf courses. I do not own a golf cart, but I do realize how we got to this point last year with COVID being so rampant. These people took it upon themselves. They wanted to have a bit of a parade. We all saw the golf carts running around. They were having a great time with lights, everything else. It was a very positive thing for them. This ordinance is intended to establish a golf cart transportation program within the county of Riverside. The Streets, Trails, and Highway Code for the state of California authorizes the county of Riverside to develop a golf cart transportation plan that extends the use of golf carts for transportation beyond access to golf courses. Reading through that, it was very specific. Operators must have a driver's license, and they must be insured. The vehicle needs to have a windshield, brake, turn signals, seat belts, a top cover. DOT reflectors are required. If they're going to operate at night, of course, they have to have head and tail lights. The reason I bring this up is one of the things that we've listened to at the Streets, Trails, and Utilities Commission is how these people are running up and down the horse trails, causing problems that way. They just think that they have the right to do that. I think it's the ignorance. I don't mean any disrespect to anybody. They just don't know. That's really what it comes down to. I do believe strongly that if a local ordinance like this was enacted, within the city, that it could be a win-win. If they understand where they can operate, maybe that'll go a long way to keeping most of them off of the trails. I would ask you to have Streets and Trails take a look at this. Also, I'm certain that the Sheriff's Department want to have a lot of say in this and what we could do. I feel that with some modification, that this would be a win-win for everybody involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
No further comment?
Thank you. We'll now move to item number 5, legislative matters. City Clerk.
Okay. No new evidence will be heard from the public as the public hearing has been closed regarding the item listed.
Thank you. Item 5A, this is ordinance number 1077, second reading. And I would like to ask my colleagues, I'd like to entertain a motion to not do the second reading at this time and send this item back to staff and the Streets and Trails Commission. I became aware of there's some extenuating circumstances that impact various businesses, and that maybe we need to take that in consideration and maybe look a little deeper at this situation. So
I would support that.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to send this back to Streets and Trails, given the extenuating circumstances.
Second.
While under discussion, are there any more details that could be provided regarding that?
Yes.
Would you provide them?
Sure.
Thank you.
I was contacted by a couple of different business owners that felt that maybe there was not enough notification and maybe not enough discussion on how this impacts their various business, either during certain times, and that it was just generally an overall concern. And then physically looking a little closer at this, it seemed to be not one and not two, but certain businesses, I felt we didn't dwell into specific operations. It maybe seemed more of a blanket type of thing, and I think we have to just look a little more closer, if that helps answer your question.
Yes, thank you. So mainly we're looking at the restrictions along Hamner, not necessarily the residential ones.
Well, I believe in the residential specifically that was discussed at the last meeting, like Second and Western. I think that, to me, was addressed. Public Works Director communicated that in an email, that I think that was brought out to satisfy that specific. But we could certainly ask the commission to relook at that again. But I thought that area on the residential aspect was satisfied.
Thank you.
So, any further discussion? We have a motion and a second.
Please vote. Motion passes.
Thank you. I will now move into discussion action items. Making you do all the work, Dana.
That's fine. Order of presentation for discussion items: 1, staff report presentation; 2, council questions of staff; 3, public comment; 4, council discussion and action.
Thank you. Item 6A, Santa Ana River Homeless Encampments Update. Michelle.
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. Before I present the item on the agenda regarding the Santa Ana River homeless encampments, I'd like to introduce Homeless Solutions Manager Karen Roper from the City of Corona, who will provide an update on the current collaborative homeless services and a recent submittal of the $1 million grant to the county. And I'd like to also say thank you to Karen, because she does a lot of heavy lifting for us at this point with this program.
Council members,
Good evening,
congratulations, Mayor Pro Tem, and to Councilmember Bash, thank you so much for doing such a great job being mayor of our city. I just wanted to tell you all that December is a very special month for me, because it was literally this week in 1987 that I had the privilege of moving to this town 34 years ago. So I want to thank you for everything that you do to protect the integrity and the animal lifestyle of the city of Norco. It is truly a privilege to be here before you tonight and to talk about the item that is before you regarding the Santa Ana riverbed. I want to take you back in time when your council first decided to take action on approving collaborative homeless programs between the city of Corona and the city of Norco. And since you took action on that in April of this year, you have assisted 17 Norco homeless in your motel program. And for the benefit of the members of the public, I think it's important to mention that each of those folks that have received assistance in the motel program have to have documentable ties to the city. So you are not a regional shelter provider. You are providing shelter to folks that have lived here for several years and sometimes many, many years. Also now, looking at, that's the big picture of the motel program, and since you're considering an action item regarding the Santa Ana River tonight, I wanted to tell you that we have assisted in the motel program 8 individuals from the Santa Ana River in the motel program. Well, actually, we've engaged 8 individuals. 7 of them have been placed in your Norco motel program that is administered by CityNet, our nonprofit partner. 1 was referred to the county's project room key, and that is because they did not have documentable ties to the city. So I think it's important for you to know that we do what we can to protect the funds that are invested in the city of Norco for Norco homeless. I also wanted to mention that the folks that are living in the Santa Ana riverbed tend to be very, very chronically homeless and have lived there a very long time. One member that has been assisted, for example, lived in the Santa Ana riverbed for 10 years and has been living with mental illness and physical disabilities. The ages of folks that are living in the riverbed right now that we've been able to assist and get them out of the riverbed are ranging from like 42 years of age to 60 years of age, mostly males, but a few females. We have a great collaboration with the county, as I've discussed with you before. So all of those have been referred to the county for rapid rehousing assistance so that we can get them placed out of motel shelter into housing, and 4 of them have already been approved for rapid rehousing from the county. Also, all of them, and rapid rehousing is a time-limited assistance, so we're trying to be proactive to also get them connected to longer-term sources of permanent affordable housing, so they're all on the waiting list for Section 8 vouchers, which you can basically take that assistance anywhere in the United States. Let's see. Also wanted to see. Okay. So now, when we talk about what's happened with the folks that are living in the riverbed, wanted to talk about the collaborative that we've been working on with Supervisor Spiegel and multiple county agencies and in the western cities. Norco and Corona have been extremely active in this collaborative, and we actually had, when a grant was released recently from the state, it's called the California Encampment Response Resolution Grant. It is a demonstration grant, which means that the applicants have the ability to be selected as a model, a statewide model. We were talking about what the best approach would be, and this particular grant focuses on encampments that are at least 50 or more. So when we talked to the county about the best approach, the county was gracious enough to say that they would take the lead on the submittal to the state, but they would give the opportunity to each of the cities to submit their own grant request. And I was very honored to not only work on a $1 million grant request for the city of Corona, but also a separate $1 million request for the city of Norco. And I just want to give you a picture of the benefits that you have with this collaborative between the city of Corona and the city of Norco, because the encampment populations in both cities are very similar. So it was very easy to flesh out a scope of work and description in a budget that could be written for one city, Corona, and then be able to be used for the city of Norco. And the other thing that was really great about the process is when the budget was developed and the narrative was developed, after it was drafted, then I had the opportunity to collaborate with Michelle and Alejandra, and they were able to review the narrative and then give feedback that would help to strengthen both the Norco and Corona submissions. So it's just a really cool partnership between the two cities. So I was very honored to submit both of those separate $1 million requests to the county. And what will be happening is that by the end of this month, on December 31st, the county will submit the composite of all of the city requests in the western region to the state, and then the state will likely be issuing a notices of intent to award in March of 2022. And if we are successful, which I'm really hoping that we will be, because this is a unique model where you have multiple cities and county agencies working together literally on the largest homeless encampment, the Santa Ana Riverbed, which has a high concentration of homeless. And I'm really hoping that we're going to be successful in this, because we are focusing on mitigating fire hazards for residents, restoring wildlife habitat and vegetation, restoring trails, and getting folks that are living in the riverbed out of the riverbed and into shelter and housing. So it's a win-win-win. And if we're selected, we could literally be a model of how to do a large-scale encampment response right. And throughout all of these collaborative meetings I've been talking about, I feel like we really have the opportunity to showcase the Western region in this collaboration. So I just want to thank you, council members, for just your wise consideration of these public policies, because focusing on these types of solutions helps your residents. I happen to live, the riverbed is right behind me. We know we could have serious issues with fire and high winds. So these solutions help your residents, they help your businesses, they help the homeless residents. So it's a win-win-win, and I just want to say thank you for the privilege to be a part of this.
Thank you, Karen. Michelle, would you like to continue
Thank
with
you.
your presentation?
Yes. Before you tonight is the issue regarding the Santa Ana River homeless encampments and the update and recommendations for mitigation and funding. The city conducted an inspection and investigation with various operational departments, including Riverside County Sheriff's Department, CAL FIRE, and CityNet, to determine findings and conditions related to homeless encampments established in the city of Norco's River Trails Park within the SAR. 4 encampments ranging in various degrees of sophistication and size were found unoccupied by the residents at the time of inspection, with the exception of 1. However, all the sites showed evidence that they were active living dwellings. The structures and compounds contained biohazard and combustible materials, which pose a significant wildland fire hazard to the natural vegetation in the SAR and surrounding homes. as you can see in your packet, and for those in the audience, there's some photos of the visit down to the SAR and the encampments that were found. And you could see the much debris and sophistication in buildings and combustible items. There's barbecues, there's solar panels, there's butane tanks, there's electrical extension cords, generators, fireplaces, homemade open fire pits. All are a danger to that environment. And from above the SAR, you look at that and you say, oh, it's pretty green, right? Well, when you get down there, there's a lot of dead brush down there, which is ready to ignite. So with that, the Municipal Code, Chapter 9.30.030 identifies and prohibits activities such as this within the River Trails Park without a permit. We would not permit this type of activity anyways, and right now there are no permits on file for any encampments. Emergency resources are expended in the river bottom related to criminal activity and health and safety issues, which increases response time for the other emergency calls for service throughout the city. Riverside County Sheriff's Department and CAL FIRE support and recommend cleanup efforts and the removal of the encampments and believe this is the best interest of everyone's safety and well-being, the homeless, local residents, and first responders alike. In an effort to eliminate this dangerous condition from the SAR, an estimate from Echo Bear for biohazard remediation and cleanup services for the 4 homeless encampments identified was received in the amount of $62,620. Removal of these 4 encampments will take 344 man-hours to carry out all material from the locations identified. In an effort to maintain the biological integrity and then not to disturb the habitat within the SAR, no heavy equipment will be used in the removal process. Once removal has been completed, regular and ongoing inspections of the SAR will be conducted every 2 weeks by a CityNet homeless outreach team along with Riverside County Sheriff's Department to monitor and deter homelessness activity occurring within River Trails Park. Staff is recommending use of the American Rescue Plan Act to service those that are disproportionately impacted in the city of Norco due to the increase of homelessness at the River Trails Park and will assist to ensure the safety and health of the community. At this time, staff is asking council to approve this emergency cleanup and adopt Resolution 2021-80 to appropriate funds from the American Rescue Plan Act and award contract to Echo Bear in the amount of $62,620 for the biohazard cleanup of the SAR homeless encampments. And I will entertain any questions.
Thank you, Michelle.
Welcome.
Does council have any questions of staff? Kevin, start.
The only thing I can add to that, I don't really have a question. I don't like paying the money, but I took the tour, and it's definitely dangerous down there. And so it needs to be cleaned up. My only concern is what's the plan going forward to see to it that they don't come back. That's the big thing.
With staff's conversations with Riverside County Sheriff and with CityNet, it's about going back down there and making sure that they're not repopulating. If that happens, we will have to put notice out and make sure that they do not repopulate. These 4 locations that we did notice, there are probably more deeper into the park. So we want to keep them out, so this is a start, and I think it's a good process to happen. And being that it's hand done, we're not going to disturb, the wildlife, and there's not going to be heavy equipment going in there and digging over, and really making some mess. So I think this is a good effort to start.
Catherine?
Yes, my only question was just how often is CityNet in there every week, multiple times a week? How often will they be down there following up, trying to make contact with anyone who's in the river to get them services and hopefully get them housed and moved out of the river?
Karen, you can help me out if you can. I believe they're going to be going in there every 2 weeks, every other week. So, and they have to really concentrate too on their assistance of the homelessness out in with their resources out. So if you can expand on that with CityNet.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's a great question. I think it's important. That was really key to the success of this regional collaborative, is that we're investing resources. We want to make sure that we have lasting change. And so to have lasting change, you need to be vigilant and continue to have presence. I'm just going to give you an example where we started in Corona, and kind of what we're talking about in Norco is we had all of the encampments in Corona cleaned up. And then our Corona Police Department and CityNet go down there at minimum every 2 weeks. I can tell you that after we cleaned out all of the encampments and they went down 2 weeks later, there were already some residents that were there camping with an open campfire cooking. And so, that there was discussion about enforcement, because that's illegal campfire activity, and to comply with Martin versus Boise, also offering shelter resources. So those 2 encampment residents were immediately placed in a motel shelter, so that encampment is clear. The same plan is going to be implemented in the city of Norco. So your SET team has been in discussions with CityNet, where they'll start with the same model every 2 weeks and see if that's enough to continue to go down there and have presence throughout those encampments to make sure they're not being repopulated. And then Michelle and I have discussed strategy about, just management of the contract and resources, so that if there are folks that are offered and need to proceed with enforcement, that we have the shelter resources that are available to be able to make that offer. So.
Okay, great. That was my other question, just, if we have the availability to make sure that we can move folks out.
And I really want to apologize, because I forgot to tell you some of the components in the grant that we had worked on for the city of Norco. So what that grant request is going to include, or what it does include, is funding for future cleanups. So that hopefully will address one of your concerns, Councilmember Bash, that we can leverage the city's resources. This is a one-time grant, but who knows what the state will do. Maybe they'll find that this is something they need to continue to fund. But also expanded case management and outreach. Right now you have limited hours, and you have some folks that are very chronically homeless that need more intense case management hours. Also, more expanding your motel program, and even housing resources and creative things like storage, because some of the folks that have lived in the Santa Ana riverbed were reluctant to accept services because they had so many belongings. So we're trying to be creative with budget line items in the grant for that, as well as even landlord incentives, because the housing market, as I think you all know, is really tight, extremely low vacancy factor, and trying to get folks moved out of shelter and into housing, and looking at landlord incentives. So we're really trying to be creative to do some cool things through the grant. So.
Robin? Ted?
Thank you. Michelle and Karen, thank you very much for all the information. Having just attended the Riverside County Flood Control Zone 2 meeting, and they are also spending a ton of money and resources on cleaning up the flood control channels. I mean, I'm just looking at the last year's report. They removed almost 57 tons of trash and debris in the county for because of homeless and the number of hours just cleaning them up. It's a when you spend as a county agency and you got over 3,600 hours in time for homeless, that means a lot. And so what I would do is you look at regionally, and after talking to Laura from one of our newest I can't think of it. Western Water District. Yeah, she's right there in Arupa. They're also concerned. So we need to reach out constantly. I know Jeff has up there with CAL FIRE on that side, but also talking to city council members in Arupa. They are also feeling the impact. So we need to work on it. And I know OWA and SAPA and Supervisor Spiegel is on SAPA with me. And this is her big thing, is to get it done. So there are resources and there are people there that are always in that riverbed looking at things. So reach out. It may not be a city, but they're partners. And as we go through, because even though we're wet, and they just did a rescue up there towards the Van Buren Bridge area, they did a aerial lift for people that didn't listen, didn't heed the warnings to get out. So, we need to reach out and expand that. We're doing a good job, and I'm glad you guys are going back in there. But if we don't, it's spotty, they'll just move and move and move, and that's what we'll see. So, but thank you for what you guys are doing right there on this.
Thank you, Ted. Michelle, just a couple of questions. With the regular and ongoing inspections, you'll be the point person that those inspections will be coming to you, the reports?
Yes, they can come to me, and I will also CC Karen so that they get to CityNet as well, and they'll be sharing. They do a great job sharing information from CityNet as well, so it goes back and forth so that we're both on the same page.
And question specifically to the contractor, do we need any special permits from Fish and Game, Army Corps of Engineers to do this cleanup? Other than we know we have to be done by, I think, March 1st.
I don't believe we need any permits, but I will double check that. Andy, do you know?
Yeah, we have looked at this situation, and based on the fact that we own the park, the area, and the work that needs to be done is essentially going to be done manually, hand work, carrying out equipment and debris. And based on that, we determined that we don't need a permit for this.
Okay, good. Last question on that. Who from our staff, or who will be inspecting the work the contractor does?
It's going to be a collaborative effort. It's going to be a combination of staff from different departments. Our fire department is going to be involved in inspecting that. So is our sheriff's department, as well as our facilities and maintenance folks.
Okay. And then the accounting function on it, and I mean, since they've quoted so many hours in this scope of work, we're going to monitor all of that.
Yeah, we'll monitor that and ask for timesheets so that we can verify those, and then we'll make sure that that's balanced.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Dana, any public comment?
Yes, we do. The first is Bill Naylor.
Evening, Bill.
Good evening, Council. Very supportive of this proposal to clean up the riverbed. I use that park quite a bit by riding down there, and it's a lot of the people that I do ride with are ladies, and they really don't feel comfortable right down there riding singly anymore. And this does need to be taken care of. I know of homeless camps from Hamner Bridge all the way up past Corona Avenue there, and as of this week, I understand from my wife that she went by, and it looks like at least one of the camps has been washed out because of the rain that we had on Monday or Tuesday there, and that was the one up by Corona. But they have been very persistent and continue to come back. They're not gone very long before they come back. And that's the one thing I'm concerned about, and I really would like to make sure that when we're going to spend $60-some thousand to clean this up, that we don't have to come back in another month or 2 months and spend another $60-some thousand to keep cleaning it up. So I'm really happy to hear that they're going to be going out there about every 2 weeks and trying to take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Next speaker, Bonnie Slaker.
Hello again, Bonnie.
Hi. Well, I'm thrilled that this is happening because I do ride down there quite a bit, have for 30 years, and it's kind of bad now. I don't know what the 4 encampments are that you're going to clean up, but the one that's just up, if where Corona Avenue hits River Drive, just up maybe 50 feet or so, there's been an encampment down there We see one of the residents there fairly often along the ledge. He always tells me Happy New Year. So, we interact with him fairly often. That little encampment was totally wiped out in yesterday's rain. So I don't know if that's one of the 4 you're supposed to clean up, but it's gone. But anyway, again, thank you guys for working on this. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Bonnie.
No further comments, Mayor?
Thank you. I'll bring this back to council for a discussion and action.
Motion to approve the recommendation.
Have a motion and a second. Dana?
Please vote. Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to item 6B, fiscal year 2022-2023 recognized obligation payment schedule. Lisette, would you like to do this? Thanks.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight I'm here to recommend adoption of the Successor Agency Resolution 2021-02 approving the recognized obligation payment schedule that includes the administrative budget for fiscal year 2022-2023. The successor agency to the Norco Community Redevelopment Agency was formed to administer the enforceable obligations of the former Norco Community Redevelopment Agency. The recognized obligation payment schedule, that's also known as ROPS, is a document that sets forth the minimum payment amounts and the due payments that are required by enforceable obligations for each fiscal year. The agency must submit a copy of the ROPS for the fiscal year and then obtained after approval from the Oversight Board, submitted to the County Administrative Officer, the County Auditor Controller, the State Controller's Office, and the Department of Finance by February 1st of 2022. Included in the fiscal year 22-23 obligation schedule, it's the same obligations that were included in prior years. Staff will then present the ROPS to the County Oversight Board for consideration and approval at their January 20th, 2022 meeting. Following approval of the Oversight Board, we will also submit a copy of the ROPS to the state and local agencies by February 1st of 2022. The budget provides a list of eligible obligations to be paid by the successor agency. These are mainly consist of the debt service payments that are required to be made on the bonds that were issued by the former Norco Community Redevelopment Agency. And also, on behalf of the Corona Norco Unified School District, those amounts equal about $6 million. It includes administrative cost allowance to be paid for to the successor agency in an amount of $250,000, and it also includes a supplemental education revenue augmentation fund loan repayment of $420,000. The total amount of the obligations requested to be paid for the fiscal year 2022-23 is $6.7 million. And with that, I recommend that you adopt the resolution 2021-02 to approve the ROP schedule for fiscal year 22-23. And if you have any questions.
Thank you, Lisette. Does council have any questions of staff? Hearing none, do we have any public comment?
I have no public comments for this item.
Thank you. I'll bring this back for council discussion and action.
I vote to approve the resolution, and Lisette, I want to thank you. It's an excellent report, as your staff has done, as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Lisette.
Thank you.
Andy spent years trying to teach me about our ROPS, and just always had that mental block.
The redevelopment agency will continue into
Forever. We have a motion and a second. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
We'll now move to item 6C. This is acceptance of bids and awards for the contract for the Parkway Irrigation and Landscaping on Norco Hills Road. Good evening, Todd.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm here to discuss the award of contract for the Parkway Irrigation and Landscape Improvement Project along Norco Hills Road. A brief background: in April of 2019, LMD2, where this area, the proposed area is, did not pass the 218 hearing, and a majority of the elements within the district, irrigation and maintenance, was discontinued. So we're almost to 3 years, 2.5, with the discontinuation of the water and maintenance. This has been brought to council in a couple different discussions. One was a study session in October of 2020, and then we discussed it again in July of this year. The first portion of that was to clear some of the weed abatement and fire reduction on the two large slopes on Norco Hills Road on the east side. This is the second portion of it, where we're looking at addressing the, I don't want to say dead completely, but pretty close to, from basically Hidden Valley to Parkview, which is the end of LMD2 and the start of 3, where Parkview comes up. The amount of the project is $82,310, and looking for the 10% contingency as well. Part of that is to approve the utilities required to have water, and then obviously maintain it. This project has been broken down into 3 phases. One is to remove the dead plant material, which is the rosemary. Obviously, we want to maintain the trees. The second portion of that is to, once the dead plant material is removed, is put back the DG that's been taken out with the material, and then set up small planters around the trees. There will be a total of 106 planters with some small plant material around the base of the tree, and incorporating a drip irrigation system instead of the current pop-up sprinklers, which will be a reduction in water and a savings as well. Initially, when this was discussed, our estimates were a little low. That being said, we didn't include the replacement of the DG and the unforeseen irrigation issues. The numbers that we have in this current dollar amount include its replacement of all the irrigation. That's not entirely necessary, but it's unforeseen, so we're trying to cover ourselves. So we will only spend what is required. The other option is to look at some value engineering in respect to sitting down with our awarded, well, if accepted, with Nova Landscape. They're willing to sit down and discuss some terms where we can look at further saving some funds. We also have to adopt a resolution in regards to the appropriation of the funding to cover this project. Within the staff report, we're discussing money coming from the general fund balance, which has sufficient funding. There's 3 different accounts that we've selected. I think it's up for determination. I think this is what we recommended. A majority of it comes out of capital outlay. And then the utilities and water for the maintenance would come out of contract services and would be transferred from the general fund to LMD2. Any questions?
Good report, Todd. Do we have any questions of staff?
Yes, Mayor, I do. Because this is should be LMD2, and I know the 218, and I understand why we're doing it. It's because the aesthetic, the plants, material, we're going to lose a lot of assets if we don't take care of it. And I'm looking at in the future as the maintenance of that. You foresee when we will be able to do something with LMD2 as far as the future to increase their fees or have another 218 hearing where they can actually pay for the maintenance of this area?
That is something that's going to be coming up in the upcoming year, calendar year. That is being worked on as we speak to address that issue. Obviously the proceedings, but we will provide information and prepare another 218 hearing to allow the residents and those to obviously work together and see if we can come to a resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of staff? Hearing none. Any public comment?
I have no public comments on this item.
Thank you. Bring it back to council for discussion and action.
Motion to approve as recommended by staff.
Please vote.
Good report, Todd.
So with your approval,
Motion passes,
council members, we expect to take the money out of the general fund.
Correct. Okay, let's move to item 7, public hearings. City Clerk.
Order of presentation for public hearing items. 1, staff report presentation. 2, council questions of staff. 3, open public hearing. A, public comment. 4, closed public hearing. 5, council discussion and action.
Okay, item 7A, tentative parcel map 38205. Alma, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This agenda item 7A is tentative parcel map 38205, which is a request to subdivide 23.78 acres into 4 parcels. The property is located at 3166 Horseless Carriage Drive, which is located in the M1 zone, which is our heavy commercial light manufacturing zone. This parcel map meets the minimum standards for the creation of lots in the M1 zone, and it corresponds to an approved site plan that was approved back in 2019 for the construction of 3 industrial buildings that total approximately 374,000 square feet. So the lots that are being proposed meets the minimum lot width, lot depth, minimum lot size for the creation of lots in the M1 zone. And it corresponds to the approved site plan, which allows also the site plan to still meet its minimum setbacks, landscaping, and all that criteria for development in the M1 zone. That's basically it. Staff is recommending approval. This map was presented to the Planning Commission. They also recommended approval. Staff is recommending approval. The resolution for approval of the map has been attached to your staff report. And with that, I will conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alma. Does council have any questions of staff? Well, I do. Has there was a 4-foot correction on the map. Has the map been corrected to reflect the proper dimensions?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Open the public hearing.
I have no public comments, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion and action.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Please vote. There we go. Motion approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alma. Thank you, Dana. Item 7B is a continued public hearing, so we will move into City Council and staff communications.
You need to take, it's a public hearing, so you need to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you specifically need to move it to be continued to that date certain, so that we don't have to
7B.
renotice.
I'm sorry, apologize.
That was my error, sorry, Mayor.
No, I'll shoulder that. How would you like that, John, to go?
Oh, you just need to make a motion to continue it to January.
Robin making a motion?
Yes, sir. I move to continue to January 5th, 2021, our public hearing regarding the self-evaluation and transition plan for programs and services regarding compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Please vote. Mayor?
Got it.
Oh, sorry.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Oh, 22.
No.
Kidding, 20.
No, it's January 5th, 2022.
But it said 21 on the board.
Are we good?
Good catch.
Motion passes unanimous.
Yeah, that is what the agenda said.
Okay. Let's move to item 8, City Council Staff Communications. Going to try things a little bit different. Does any city staff have anything to report?
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
I was going to call on you next, John. City Attorney?
I counted myself as city staff.
Nope.
Oh, in which case, I'll repeat. Merry Christmas and have a great New Year.
Thank you. City Manager? Andy? Council, Ted?
Yeah, I have this. In our last meeting, we talked about the possibility of doing master plans and that at the parks and the area along Hamner between Detroit and 6th Street. If you guys all, I don't know if Catherine, if you ever saw this, the Gateway Village plan and what we talked about. And I think because of the construction of the bridge and it being the completion date in 2023 and all that, we need to entertain, and I'm going to throw this back at staff, to entertain the possibility of either developing a specific plan for that area. We don't want a bunch of hodgepodge development in there. We need to have something that's going to be decent for us. And this was done under our former Economic Development Director, so I'd like to see us try to put something back together as staff. And I entertain that, propose that as a motion to send it back to staff.
I would second that, to put it on the future agenda as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councilmember Alleman?
Yes.
Councilmember Bash?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gronmeier? Yes. Mayor Newton?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Ted. Robin? Catherine? Kevin?
Nothing.
Okay, I just have just a couple of items. Chad, will you make sure you follow up with the residents on River Drive?
We've actually already spoken.
Okay, all right. And kind of in regard to the email that we discussed, and that as Mr. Williams brought up, Andy, about the Riverside County Ordinance, maybe some discussions with the sheriff and kind of find a soft approach to move forward with this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Good. What, the ordinance? Okay. Great. Okay, all I have left is to wish all of you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Staff, appreciate all you do. You just work incredibly hard. And to all the residents, appreciate your support.
Starting another new year of Cubs baseball.
There's always next year. Everybody have a good Christmas.